March 23, 2026. A jail phone in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Joseph Duggar accused a son of America's most famous mega family on a recorded call with his wife. And what Kendra Duggar tells him next becomes the line that defines this entire scandal. Just don't trust anyone. That's what she said, to a man whose own confession to police is already on tape. To a man whose father had just emailed him and told him he was about to face years of consequences. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going deep, and I mean deep, into every leaked email, every recorded phone call, every jail communication that has come out of the Joseph Duggar case so far. There are more than a dozen of them. They paint a picture of a family in absolute freefall, and one specific email from Jim Bob Duggar that nobody saw coming. Let's get into it. Before we go through the actual content of these calls, you need to understand why they exist in the first place, because a lot of viewers don't realize this is even legal. In the state of Arkansas, and in most states, every single phone call made by an inmate is recorded. Every email sent through the jail's electronic messaging system is monitored. Every video visit is captured. The only conversations that are protected, by law, are between an inmate and their attorney. Joseph Duggar was held at the Washington County Detention Center in Fayetteville, Arkansas, from March 18th, when he was arrested, until March 27th, when he was extradited to Florida. That's 9 days of recorded communications. After those 9 days, the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, a local Arkansas newspaper, filed Freedom of Information Act requests for everything: phone call recordings, emails, visitation logs, and under Arkansas's open records law, the jail had to hand it over. The Democrat-Gazette published their findings on April 11, 2026. National outlets like People Magazine, Us Weekly, E! News, and HuffPost followed up with their own FOIA requests and got more material. And on top of that, at least one full audio clip of a phone call between Joseph and Kendra Duggar leaked onto TikTok and went viral, racking up millions of views before being taken down. Today, we're going to walk through every major communication in chronological order. We'll start with March 21st, 3 days after Joseph's arrest, and go all the way through his extradition. Buckle up. The first family member to reach out to Joseph in jail was, and this surprised a lot of fans, Anna Duggar. Yes, that Anna. Josh Duggar's wife, the woman who has stood by Josh through molestation allegations, through his federal arrest, through his conviction, and through his ongoing 151-month prison sentence. The woman is raising 7 children largely on her own. On March 21st, 3 days after Joseph's arrest, Anna sent him an email through the jail messaging system. The email was obtained by Us Weekly and E! News through jail records. In the email, Anna told Joseph he had her family's prayers. She said she loved him. She said she had put some money on his commissary books, meaning she had deposited funds into his jail account so he could buy snacks, hygiene items, and stamps. And she admitted she didn't fully remember how phone calls and video calls worked at that facility. Now pause on that. Anna doesn't remember how it works. Why might that be? Because she had to learn it once before, when Josh was at this same facility, awaiting his federal trial. Anna's email got more practical. She told Joseph he needed to get his inmate account set up so he could communicate with Kendra. She offered to help facilitate that, and she gave him one piece of legal advice that turned out to be deeply ironic. She told him not to discuss anything legal unless he was with an attorney, because every message, every phone call, and every video chat would be recorded and turned over to prosecutors. Anna was literally warning Joseph in writing in a recorded email that everything he said in jail would end up in the hands of prosecutors and reporters, and eventually, the entire internet. She also asked whether he was being kept in solitary confinement or moved into a general housing pod. And in the most chilling line of the entire email exchange, she compared notes saying that Joshua's experience at Washington County was fairly safe. Read that twice. Anna Duggar, in 2026, is reassuring her brother-in-law about jail conditions by referencing her husband's previous incarceration in the exact same facility on similar charges. That is not normal family dynamics. That is something else entirely. Joseph responded to Anna's email a few hours later. And his response is the line that's been quoted in basically every news story since. He told Anna he was in solitary confinement, but the jail staff had given him a Bible, so he had been able to stay encouraged. That's the line, the Bible line. For Duggar fans who have been watching this family for 2 decades, that response is extremely on brand. It is exactly the framing the IBLP, the Institute in Basic Life Principles, teaches its followers. Suffering is never just suffering. It's an opportunity to be encouraged, to grow in faith, to witness to others. Joseph also thanked Anna for the prayers and the commissary money, and he asked her for one specific favor to help his wife Kendra set up her email account so the two of them could finally communicate from jail. This is one of the most revealing logistical details of the entire scandal. By March 21st, 3 full days after his arrest, Joseph still couldn't talk to his wife. Why? Because the jail's communication system requires both parties to register, deposit money, and verify their identity. And Kendra, who was dealing with her own arrest the day before, hadn't set hers up yet. Joseph couldn't reach his own wife. He could reach Anna, the wife of his incarcerated brother. That tells you everything about which Duggars he was relying on. The next day, March 22nd, Anna emailed Joseph again. This message was shorter, but in some ways more pointed. She told him she was praying for him and asked how she could help. She suggested that Joseph request a visit from the jail chaplain because the chaplain could supply more books beyond the Bible. Anna noted that this had been useful during Josh's time at the facility. Then came the line. Anna told Joseph that Kendra loved him so much. Now that's a beautiful sentiment in any other context, but notice what's happening here. Anna is acting as a messenger between the spouses. She's the conduit. She's translating Kendra's emotions into the jail's monitored email system, because Kendra herself can't yet communicate directly. And it's worth pausing on the Anna-Kendra dynamic. Both women married into this family young. Both married Duggar sons were accused, and now in 2 cases, both have been accused of crimes against minors. Both stayed. Anna stayed through Josh's federal conviction. The big question hanging over this entire case is whether Kendra will follow that same playbook. The emails between Joseph and Anna ended around March 22nd. From that point forward, most of his communications were with Kendra directly, by phone once Kendra finally got registered. Which brings us to the bombshell, the audio recording. Sometime in late March, an audio recording of a phone call between Joseph and Kendra appeared on TikTok. It went viral within hours. Bored Panda reported on it. Multiple news outlets covered the contents. The original post was eventually taken down, but the audio had already been mirrored across hundreds of accounts. I'm not going to play the audio in this video. I want to be respectful of the situation, and YouTube's policy on third-party leaked content is murky. But I will walk you through exactly what's on it, because it is revealing. In the call, Kendra asks Joseph how he's doing behind bars. Joseph tells her he's been spending a lot of time reading the Bible, the same Bible he mentioned in the Anna email. He describes his physical conditions. He says he's in solitary confinement. He says he's inside his cell 23 hours a day, in a space roughly 8 feet by 10 feet. Then there's an exchange of pleasantries. Joseph tells Kendra it's good to hear her voice. She returns the sentiment. Then Kendra says she's trying to keep her anxiety in check. Now here's where it gets very uncomfortable for the public watching this. Multiple users on TikTok pointed out things that the call did not contain. Number 1, Joseph never asks about his children. Not once. Not how they're doing, not whether they're scared, not whether they understand what's happening, not whether they've been told the truth. He had 4 kids ages 7, 6, 5, and 4 at the time of his arrest. They were not mentioned in the portion of the call that leaked. Number 2, neither party expressed remorse. Not for the alleged victim, not for the family, not for the situation. As one viral comment put it, no remorse in either of their voices. Number 3, Joseph hesitated when Kendra brought up releasing his cell phone. To this day, fans speculate about what was on it that made him pause. Number 4, Kendra discussed her legal representation. She made it clear that the lawyer she had hired, reportedly named Story, was representing her only, not Joseph. 2 separate attorneys, 2 separate legal strategies. That is not what a couple presenting a unified front looks like. That detail alone is what triggered most of the divorce theories you're seeing online. Spouses in a strong marriage facing legal trouble together typically share counsel, or at least coordinate. Kendra hiring her own attorney and clarifying on a recorded jail call that the representation was not for Joseph is a major signal. Body language analysts on TikTok and Reddit had a field day. But the most important thing isn't the tone, it's the content. And the content, by the public's reading, was a man who didn't seem to grasp the weight of what was happening, talking to a wife who already had one foot out of the legal arrangement. Buried inside the larger phone call record is one specific exchange that the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette flagged as significant. In a March 22nd call, Joseph reminded Kendra that none of their communications were confidential. He explained that every phone call was being recorded, every email was being read. The only conversations that would actually be protected by law were ones with his attorney. This is important for two reasons. First, it proves Joseph knew he was being recorded. So when prosecutors eventually use these calls in trial, and they will, Joseph cannot claim he had any expectation of privacy. He was on notice. Second, it explains the entire vibe of the calls that follow. Both Joseph and Kendra are speaking carefully. They're using vague language. They're avoiding specific topics. They keep dancing around what they actually want to say. It's the linguistic equivalent of two people texting in code, knowing someone is reading over their shoulders. And yet, even with that warning, even with that knowledge, they kept saying things that ended up making national headlines. Which brings us to the call that became the title of every news story from that week. Monday, March 23, 2026. In a recorded jail call between Joseph and Kendra, Kendra delivers what becomes the defining quote of this entire case. Roughly paraphrased, she tells him, if there's anything she's learned from this whole experience, it's not to trust anyone. Just don't trust anyone. The Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette published that quote in their April 11th investigation. The national media picked it up the same day. Now, the obvious question, who is Kendra not trusting? This is where it gets murky. Some interpretations. Interpretation 1. Kendra is warning Joseph not to trust law enforcement, prosecutors, or the criminal justice system. This is consistent with how the Duggar family has historically responded to investigations. Interpretation 2. Kendra is warning Joseph not to trust media, friends, or church members who might leak information. Plausible, given the media frenzy. Interpretation 3. Kendra is warning Joseph not to trust family, including possibly his own siblings. This one is loaded because it would explain why several Duggar siblings have remained publicly silent, while Jill, Derek, and cousin Amy have spoken out. The Democrat-Gazette also reported a more specific name in the call. Kendra warned Joseph not to talk to a man named Greg. She didn't elaborate. And here's where it gets interesting. Joseph responded that he had already called Greg. But this is the punchline Joseph said Greg had told him not to tell him anything. Greg shut the conversation down. Reporters at the Democrat-Gazette flagged something specific. There's a defense attorney named Gregory Payne, who at one point was part of Josh Duggar's legal team during his federal child pornography case. Whether the Greg, Kendra, and Joseph were discussing is the same Gregory Payne is not confirmed. But the timing, the connection to the family, and the legal context make it a very strong implication. If it is the same person, Gregory Payne, refusing to talk to Joseph would actually be a sign of professional ethics. A defense attorney who previously worked on a related family case can't ethically take on a new client without serious conflict of interest analysis. But it also means Joseph was at minimum shopping for legal advice within the Duggar family's existing network and getting turned away. This is the one that broke the internet. On March 25, 2026, a full week after Joseph's arrest, Patriarch Jim Bob Duggar sent his son an email through the jail messaging system. People Magazine, Us Weekly, and the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette all obtained copies of it. And it is unlike anything Jim Bob has ever publicly said. The email starts the way you'd expect. Jim Bob tells Joseph that he and Michelle love him very much. He tells him he's sorry for what he's going through. Standard parent-to-child framing. Then the tone shifts dramatically. Jim Bob tells Joseph he has made a, quote, paraphrased, terrible decisions. Multiple decisions, plural. He tells Joseph that God has already forgiven him if he has asked for that forgiveness. And then comes the line that everyone is talking about. Jim Bob tells Joseph that he is going to have to accept the situation, that praying for God's mercy is fine, but Joseph is probably going to face major consequences for several years to come. Pause. Read that again. The most powerful patriarch in evangelical reality television, the man who stood in front of the cameras and defended Josh's molestation cover-up for years, is telling his son in writing, "You did something terrible. Accept it and prepare for consequences." That is a 180-degree pivot from the Duggar family's historical playbook. Compare it to 2015. When the Josh Duggar molestation report broke, Jim Bob and Michelle went on Fox News with Megyn Kelly and framed Josh as a teen who made a mistake and had been forgiven through counseling. They downplayed it. They reframed it. They tried to control the narrative. In 2026, Jim Bob is privately, in writing, telling his son to brace for prison. Now, there are two ways to read this. The cynical read. Jim Bob knows these emails are recorded. He knows they will eventually leak. He's performing accountability for the audience he knows is coming. He's using the email to publicly distance himself from the alleged crimes while still privately supporting his son. The optimistic read, Jim Bob has actually learned something. After Josh, after the show's cancellation, after the federal conviction, after the loss of millions in income, maybe he genuinely understands that defending the indefensible doesn't work. The email continues. Jim Bob makes biblical references comparing Joseph to King David, who he says royally messed up, but became a man after God's own heart. He compares Joseph to the biblical Joseph, who was thrown in prison but turned his time there into something productive. Jim Bob literally tells his son to make lemonade out of lemons. He also gives an update on Kendra, saying she's doing well overall, trusting in the Lord, and that she loves Joseph very much. So at least according to Jim Bob, on March 25th, the marriage was still functioning. The email ends with Jim Bob telling Joseph he loves him, that the family is praying for him, and not to give up. The whole thing reads like a parent grieving in real time. Now we have to talk about the silences, because what isn't in these jail communications is just as revealing as what is. Missing voice number 1, Michelle Duggar, the matriarch, mother of 19. As of all available reporting, Michelle has not personally emailed Joseph. Jim Bob's email mentions Michelle saying, "Mom and I love you," but there's no record of a separate communication from her. That is striking. Missing voice number 2, most of his siblings. Out of 18 siblings, the only ones publicly confirmed to have communicated with Joseph during this jail period are Anna Duggar and his parents. No emails from Jana, no emails from Jessa or Ginger, no emails from his twin brothers, Jedediah and Jeremiah, no emails from Joyanna. The family is going quiet. Missing topic number 1, the alleged victim. Across every email, every call, every leaked communication, neither Joseph nor anyone in his family mentions the alleged victim by name, expresses concern for her, or acknowledges her trauma. Jill and Derek Dillard's public statement is the only one that does. Missing topic number 2, Joseph's own children. As mentioned earlier, in the leaked phone audio, the 4 Duggar kids are barely mentioned. No questions about whether they're okay. No requests to talk to them. No expressions of missing them. Missing topic number 3, any acknowledgement of guilt. Despite Joseph's controlled call confession to detectives, the one where he allegedly admitted his intentions were not pure, Joseph never references that confession in his jail communications. His not guilty plea, filed via attorney, is the only formal position he's taken. These silences are going to matter at trial. Prosecutors will absolutely be combing through every communication for what was said and what wasn't. Theory 1. The Duggar family is fracturing, not unifying. In 2015, with Josh, the family closed ranks. In 2026, with Joseph, they are not. Anna is communicating. Jim Bob is, but with notably hard language. Almost everyone else is silent. That is a tell. Theory 2. Kendra is positioning for separation. The "don't trust anyone" framing, the separately hired attorney, the absence of unified messaging. These are not the actions of a wife committed to staying. They might still stay, but the foundation is cracked. Theory 3. Jim Bob's "accept the situation" email is, in part, a public-facing document. Jim Bob is media savvy. He knows FOIA requests exist. He knows the email would leak. The framing was likely intentional. Theory 4. The actual confession, Joseph telling detectives his intentions were not pure, combined with the absence of any guilt narrative in jail communications, suggests a defense built on attacking the interview process, not denying the underlying conduct. Watch for his lawyers to argue the controlled call was coercive. Theory 5. More leaks are coming. The Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette is still actively reporting. Jail communications continue to be public records under Arkansas law. Every conversation Joseph had during those 9 days in Fayetteville is fair game for FOIA, and reporters will keep asking. Buckle in, because this is going to keep dripping out for months. So that's every leaked communication we know about so far. The Anna Duggar emails, the TikTok audio, the don't trust anyone call, the Greg conversation, and the Jim Bob email that may well be the most surprising document to come out of this entire case. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit the like button. It genuinely helps the channel grow. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because every time new jail records drop, I'll do a follow-up video the same week. Drop a comment below. What's your read on Jim Bob's email? Do you think he's genuinely changed his approach? Or is this a calculated public-facing performance because he knows these communications leak? I read every comment, and if you're a survivor of abuse and any part of this story brought up something hard for you, please reach out to Rain at 1-800-656-4673. It's free, it's confidential, it's 24/7. There's no shame in calling. Thanks for watching.